wait a moment. So it might not actually be running yet. It's always fun to see how things are going. I'm trying a new setup here, so if it isn't running yet, hopefully you'll be seeing it in just a moment. But if it is, then fantastic. Stream is good. Okay, see you later, babe. Love you. Hey, we are streaming, so I think it's up and running now. A couple words of note, especially to begin with. If you go down in the description below, you will see a link to a place where you can ask the questions. I used to use Google Hangouts, and they had a whole question feature on the side, so you could vote up questions and enter them in, and that worked great. But apparently, Google Hangouts is no longer integrated with YouTube, and so they're changing around a few things like that, and so hopefully that application will now be on YouTube, but it's not yet. So wahoo, we're playing with other things. So if you can go there and link on it, then you can see that, because for some reason I am not seeing the comments on this. But yeah. So we are live. Cool. So yeah, if you want to go and leave some questions there, I would love to see them. I have a few in there that some people have sent me, and thought that would be a good place to start. I'm just trying to get it to make sure I can see what is going on. But yeah, so just hang on here a moment. Sorry for a little bit of difficulty. This is the first time I've done this system. Why isn't it saying that I am live? You are live. Aha! Oh, I hit the wrong button. So apparently now I am live. So, yeah. Looks like apparently I hit the wrong button. Stream offline. Why does it say that I'm offline now? So if you can see this, please let me know in the comments. I don't know why I am offline.
Somebody got a boyfriend.
I got vibrators older than that child.
Nothing says the holidays quite like.
So if you can see this, please let me know in the comments.
Okay, there we go. Booyah.
I don't. Okay, sorry about that. For some reason, it is working. So sorry. New setup. Trying to figure this out. So let's answer some questions here. Looks like I am now online. So yeah, if you want to answer questions, look in the description below. There is a link to the Google place where you can ask questions, and you can vote to the top questions you want to see. The old system of doing it through Google Hangouts doesn't integrate anymore, from what I understand. So I'm doing it this way to test it out, and we'll see how it goes. It's just kind of hard to sometimes keep up with the comments on the side as they disappear too quickly. So I have a bunch of questions already asked, and I figured I would start with those. First up, Donnie Carter asks, do you ever think... Oh, no, sorry. Do you ever think, man, I wish I had power tools? Sometimes I wish I had power tools. I often find that if I'm doing the same procedure 30 times, I wish I had power tools. Or if I'm thickness planing like 24 board feet of something, I often wish I could just run it through a planer. But yeah, there are times for that. But most of the time, no. Most all of the operations I do, I end up doing, like 1, 2, or 3 joints, sometimes 4, but I don't end up doing that much. And so hand tools for me are far more enjoyable. Yes, there are things where they're slower, but yeah. Probably this next year I will get a thickness planer and maybe a table saw. mainly for the purpose of being able to put out more videos faster. Coming up the dresser I'm doing, I am going to be making all the sides of all of the drawers out of solid white oak, and that's going to be thickness planing. I have to take about 1/4 inch off of all of the boards, and that's going to be about 30 board feet worth of white oak that I have to thickness plane 1/4 inch off of. Yeah, it'd be nice to have a hand planer for that. So that's probably going to be like a whole week's worth of work for me in the shop. Then that's a week that I have to plan ahead and do other things in order to get the videos going. Whereas if I had a thickness planer, I could go through that and I can do more large projects like this more often. So for sake of doing the video, I may end up getting a couple power tools like that. But we'll see. The table saw I might not get because it doesn't save that much time. But I think the thickness planer is the one spot where I could put out more videos. But I don't know. I might just do it all by hand. It is a lot more fun. Let me do this. Sorry, it might be a little louder here. I have to turn the fan on to keep my computer cool. It is getting close to a temperature where it will blue screen on me, so I have to back that down. But yeah. Fun things of using old computers. So, next question. Ooh, where'd it go? There's the box. Donnie Carter asked, can you talk a little bit more about performing tasks on the workbench if you are left-handed? Where are the vices held? Which side would the vice be on, and such? Basically, mirror anything that happens right-handed. So like on my bench, I keep the vise on the left side so that I can always reach with my dominant hand for the tools. If the vise were on the right side, then my dominant hand would be hanging off the end of the bench. Now in my particular setup, that's a little bit weird because I like my vise to be on the end of the bench. So where there would normally be a wagon vise, I put my face vise there. And I like that. I like working with the direction of the bench. And so it's a little bit odd for me, but I guess it's one of those things where you might have to kind of play with it and see where do you like to grab things. But usually you want whatever your dominant hand is to have the rest of your bench over there so you can pick up tools and use them. But there are left-handed people who like working on a right-handed bench. So it's kind of a personal preference. But generally you want to have the area free where you can have your dominant hand to pick up and set down tools. Next up, what paint do you use on your tools? This is from Thomas Breisken. I'm probably messing that up. I actually use just a spray can, a Rust-Oleum spray paint. If I'm doing a really nice job on it, I will put down a layer of spray primer first and then use that spray paint. I have a particular color of metallic blue that I like on my tools. So that's why most of the tools in my shop are metallic blue, like these. And I just like the way it looks, and that's me. Now, if I really wanted to get into it, there are other paints I could use, but for my money and for the time's sake, a spray can of Rust-Oleum works perfectly. Next up, from Thomas again. What is that blue thing on top of your shelves? I get asked this question a lot. And let's see, I brought that up here so you can see. It's actually a compass plane. And I love this tool. It's not a tool that you use that often. It is basically only time you want to put an arch in something or you want that consistent curve. This makes it very, very fast. So just like with a jointing plane, when you want to joint something straight, the joiner plane will actually tell you if the surface is flat and jointed. So you can, the plane will tell you when it's flat. It's not something you're having to put something on there to tell. Whereas this will tell you have that particular radius cut into it, because once the radius is in there, it will only make it deeper. It won't change the radius. So this is actually a very useful tool for that. In all honesty, it's not something that I use that often because I'm not putting arches into things that much, but when I do, it is fantastic. I actually did a video on this about 4 or 5 months ago, so if you want to go search for compass plane, you'll see it on my videos. It's a fun one to have. Let's see. Next up, from Thomas Spillany. I think I'm saying that right. You have, you're always commenting on my videos, so thank you for that. I want to buy new chisels, and my budget is $200. What should I buy? Now, first off, I have to say, the chisels that I use cost less than $10 for the entire set. Is that because I like the cheap chisels? For their money, I think they're fantastic. Yes, there are far, far better chisels, but for the money, I don't have a reason to jump to that. And my expenses are very, very tight. I have like $20 a month for my tool budget, so getting a new tool that would be that expensive is not for me. But if I had the money, I love the feel of the Veritas PMV 11 chisels. I like the tip on them. They work very well. They last well. They hone easily. I just like them. So that would probably be what I would jump to. But other than that, once you start getting into that $200 range, it ends up being a lot more about the feel. How do the chisels actually feel in your handy in your hand, and how do they how do they feel? Different bevels on them and different grips. It's really kind of a personal preference. So if you get a chance to actually go to a place and play with them, definitely do that. You can kind of see what you like. But yeah, so that's why my chisels I actually purchased from Aldi, the grocery store. Let's see. Next up, which hand tool could you not do without? And this one is from Anonymous. Honestly, I would probably not do without the chisel in my hand. I get asked a lot, what's your favorite hand tool? And I have to say the one I'm holding at the moment. I don't know. Although if I had a number 4, a 1/2-inch chisel, and a crosscut saw, I could build just about anything. So I think those are really kind of the basic tools. But in all honesty, I'm probably going to be building a bench stool here soon that is completely made with a chisel, so that I'm taking rough sawn lumber, I'm planing it down, I'm cutting it to dimension, I'm shaping it, I'm joining it, I'm smoothing it completely with a chisel. So I think if anything it comes down to that, because every tool in the shop is just another way of holding a chisel. But yeah, I think that would probably be my most basic tool. And just so those of you who know who have hopped on, if you go down to the description below, you'll see a link to where you can ask questions. The conversation on the side is going a little bit too fast, so I can't quite pick up with those. But occasionally I'll see a question in there. But yeah, going back to the chisels, Paul Sellers has a thing on all these chisels. The steel is not the absolute best in them, but until you get really good with the chisel and you know what you're feeling, you're not going to feel a difference. Once you get into it a while and you know how it feels to properly sharpen and it becomes a muscle memory thing, then you'll start to feel some of the differences. But steel-wise, the Aldi steel are pretty good. I have used the wooden handles from Aldi. I have those on my bench. Not Aldi, Harbor Freight. Those are fairly good. They're not quite as good as the ones I got from Aldi, but they're decent. They work fairly well, and they will hold an edge for a while. Now, they won't hold an edge quite as long as like a PMV 11 or an A1, but they work, and they work rather well. And they sharpen easily, too, so that's kind of something I like about it. Yeah, someone is asking about sharpening. I sharpen on diamond stones. They are a little faster than most natural stones or ceramics. So I kind of like that, and also I don't have to mess with flattening them. They're just simple, they're easier. It's a personal preference. I really don't have any problem with the natural stones or other things like that. I don't like messing with flattening them, so I stick with diamond, but that's me. Let's see. Daniel from down in South America. I'm trying to remember what country. You think you're in Argentina. What is my day job and hobby? Honestly, my day job is a stay-at-home dad. I watch the kids. I take care of them. And that is what has allowed me to put out 3 videos a week, is because I'm using hand tools. I am quiet in the shop. I'm making less dust. It is a generally safer shop, and so I can have the kids in the shop with me. So during the day when I'm watching the kids, I'm often down in the shop working on things. And I can edit videos with the kids around, and so that's kind of a good balance. It makes it a lot easier so I don't have to actually have a day job. But yeah, I used to be, my background is in technical theater. I taught welding. My last full-time job was the supervisor of a metal shop, doing aluminum welding and other things like that. So I have a very broad background, but now I do hand tool. And I don't consider the Wood by Wright to be a full-time job in that its income really isn't much of anything, but it's enough that I can occasionally purchase the supplies to create more videos and spend a little bit of time into it and justify the time expenditure to my wife. I think that's the biggest thing. So that's my hobby, is woodworking, and I love it. Is doing woodworking a worthwhile career, or is it more of a hobby? Honestly, there are 2 types of woodworkers that you commonly see who are making money. There are the people who make things and sell it. And in order to do that now, you either have to go full production, or you have to charge an astronomical price that only a few people can pay. And so both of those are extremely hard to get into and take years and years and years to get going. The other thing is more like what I'm doing is woodworking, but I'm actually a content producer. I teach people how to do it. I show techniques and different methods and things like that. And that's a little bit easier to get into, but it means you're spending far less time in the shop. I would say like 10 to 15% of my actual time spent working with Wood by Wright is actually in the shop. The rest of it is editing videos and uploading comments and things like that. So yeah, it's not always the best thing to do if you really want to spend time in the shop. Let's see. Spare Room Woodworking asked, why did you switch from power tools to exclusively using hand tools? Before I go any farther, if you want to ask a question, go to the link in the description below, and that will take you to a site where you can ask questions. And you can actually give a thumbs up to other ones if you want to see them higher on the list. Why did you switch from power tools to hand tools? I used to have a complete power tool shop, and I had the joiner, the planer, the table saw, router table, the whole 9 yards, and I had a 3-car garage in the back that I did all my woodworking shop work. I did some fiberglass work, and then we moved, and I rented a hangar that I could use, and that worked well for a while. And then I moved again, and I had to sell a lot of that and go down to a 2-car garage, and then we moved again, and that garage wasn't going to work, and so I put some things in storage, and then we moved again, and I sold some more things, and then we moved into our last house, and there was no way I could put it in the basement. There was no way I could put it in the garage. I didn't have money for storage, and so I sold everything. I literally sold every tool I had, even some of the weird hand tools that I actually had. And I basically said, well, I guess I'm never woodworking again. And it kind of broke my heart, but that was just where I was at. I didn't have a space to do it. I couldn't do woodworking the way I had done it. And then I saw a video on YouTube of a guy making a groove with a grooving plane. And I thought, dude, that is so groovy. And it completely rocked my world. I mean, just completely changed my mindset. And my mind started going wild with all the ideas of traditional hand tool woodworking. And the house we moved into then had a space in the basement. It's 8 foot by 10 foot, and that's my entire shop, 8 foot by 10 foot. And I can fit it in there, and I can share the room with the storage because there's less dust. And it was just this perfect storm of, well, I guess I'm going all hand tools. I've never done that before, but let's do it. And so that is where I kind of got that. If you go back and look at some of my first videos, I mean, my first video on YouTube is, look what I just bought. I bought my first hand plane. And that is when we moved from our old house to the house I'm currently in, and that kind of shows my progress in hand tools. And if you really want to see that, you can go back and look at those, but my first like 50, 60 videos are laughably dumb because I was more or less shooting videos for my own sake. But yeah. Let's see, where did we go? What? And you don't do any welding on your channel? I had no idea you could weld. So cool. That's from Retro Weld. Yes, I actually, to take it back, my master's is in technical theater, which is basically engineering for the theater. So I designed and built theater sets and props, and like Broadway style. So a lot of that is steel welded frames and mechanical design and that type of thing. And so that was what my master's was in. And then my last job, I was the supervisor of a welding shop that worked for a theater, and we made literally $1 million sets, set pieces that would roll around on stage that are larger than most houses, like 16 to 20 ton moving mountains that are GPS controlled. And so that's what I oversaw actually working, and so I ran the shop of the machinists and the welders and the fabricators making all that. And now I do hand tools. So yeah, my background is a lot of electronics, and I used to build 3D printers and welding and pretty much any type of making, especially with the props making. I've done a lot of foam creation, foam carving, a lot of different adhesion methods. I wrote a paper in fiberglass construction. So yeah, my background's a little eclectic. So thanks, Retro Weld. And if you haven't seen Retro Weld's channel, go check out. He does some really sweet stuff. I love your welding, and some of the ideas on there are fantastic. Seeing if there's any new questions on here. Sam French. Sam French. I'd love to know what the background is from that. Well, I guess the last name's French. Cool. Is woodworking a decent career choice? No, it is not. You know, I don't like throwing around numbers very often, but like if I were to go into actual woodworking and build things to sell them, it would take years of work to build up a clientele, and it would be a crazy amount of work, and I would end up having to do things that I don't actually want to do. And then there's the whole career path of being the content producer woodworker, which is what I'm kind of dabbling in, and that is far low pay. Like all told, across everything I do, I might make like $150 a month, maybe. And of that, I've promised my wife half of that will go into the house budget, and the other half is what I run the channel off of, so purchasing supplies and editing. And so basically I'm doing like 35 hours a week for like $75 total. Oh no, a month. So it's not a great career choice, and it would, if I were to turn this into a business, it would take me another 2 to 3 years, and yeah, it's a long ways off. So a career choice, it probably is not the wisest way to go. How old are you? From Summers Woodworking. I am 32. Yeah, 32 years old. I have been woodworking since I was 5, alongside my dad in the shop. My dad actually had a friend who had a full-blown wood shop. He had 2 table saws. He had I think it was a 36-inch planer. He had dedicated routers to the router bits. It was like the power tool shop you'd ever imagine. And my dad got to use the shop for free because he was his friend, and so he kind of pulled me along, and we made a dining room table and all the chairs and end tables and other things like that for the house that I would play around with. My first piece of furniture was a large dresser, and yeah, it's been a lot of things since then. So let's see if there's any other questions on here. Not there. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them at the link below. That way you can guide them up. Otherwise, I'm trying to look through the conversation to see if there's anything on there. Sorry, there's a little noise in my background. I actually have the a fan running on my computer to try and keep it cool so that it can stream this. And I've had a lot of people asking about my computer. About a year and a half ago, my son dropped my laptop, and the laptop is a sweet laptop with everything I could ever need. I can render 4K on it easily. But something in the motherboard has a slight short, and if it heats up to like 100 degrees, it blue screens. And not even like overheating, it just, if it slightly gets warm, it blue screens. And so I have to do all sorts of things to keep it cool. I actually render all my videos in the refrigerator. And so I'll start them up rendering, then I take my laptop and I'll put it in the refrigerator and let it keep it cool. So, yeah. Hopefully for Black Friday, my wife and I are talking about putting the funds together to buy a new computer for this. But we'll see. Do you have a chainsaw? Asked from Not Only Wood. Yes, I have a chainsaw. It is an electric chainsaw. And I used to own a larger chainsaw, but for the last 5 houses I've been in, I've not had any wood on the property. And so the only one I have left is this tiny little electric chainsaw with a 12-inch chain. We're hoping this next year to actually purchase a large piece of property with several acres and hopefully some trees. And if I have my druthers, I'm going to buy a piece of property that has enough woods on it that I can cut down the trees and actually do a total frame-built shop. And so build my shop with all hand tools from the trees on the property. And I think that would be an incredible journey and a lot of fun. But that all hinges on what property we can find. So, yeah. All that to say, yeah, I kind of own a chainsaw. Retro Weld asks, do you get to do some welding while you were at Cremona's? No, I didn't actually. It's been like 4 years since I've stick weld, and I'm sure I'd pick it up after doing a beat or two. But he had been going through a while, and I have sold my welding gear, and I couldn't fit on his, and so he just did the welding, and I didn't. So, oh well. One of these days I want to get another welder, and I'd love to actually have the welding shop, but what I'd love to actually do is have a blacksmith shop and do some of the things like that. But it's hard to make a trailer in a blacksmith shop. Who knows, maybe I will. Let's see, another question here. Why do you switch from power tools to exclusive? Oh, I already asked that one, sorry. Let's see. Anonymous asked, do you prefer wood or metal planes for general bench work? I'm fairly flexible. Where I am at, the wooden planes are for every one wooden plane you'll find 50 metal planes. And so it's much easier to get a decent metal plane. I have made many wooden planes, and so I use those. But the main ones that I have made, I have given away as giveaways on the channel, so I haven't been able to hold on to them. Maybe I should actually make a set and hold on to it. But I don't have a huge amount of difference. If I had my druthers, my smoothing plane would be a wooden plane. I love the way it feels when it burnishes the surface. For the actual work of most of the planing work, I don't have a huge benefit one way or the other. As long as the metal plane is oiled, they feel fairly similar to me. Yeah, so I'm flexible either way. But for a smoothing plane, I much prefer a wooden smoothing plane. And I have an old coffin that I'm thinking about restoring and turning into that. But again, I have to get the time to restore it. So let's see. Next up, Sam French. My passion has been woodworking for the last 10 years, and I'm 18 now. I'll have to decide to follow the dream or look for money as a job. So there's look for money as a job, so there's mad pressure. yeah, if you're wanting to go into it as a career source, definitely go to school for it. There are many things that you get from that. Number one, the education of, how do you do woodworking, but in most of those schools you're going to have the business classes that go along with it. They're going to have the course of, okay, how do you actually turn this into a business? How do you advertise? How do you get your name out there? And then there's the huge amount of thing of word of mouth, of being connected with a school and seeing all the people you get to meet from that, and the contacts. So going to some of these schools is well worth it. I have never had the pleasure to do that, but I've been married, so it's a little more difficult then. But if you're 18 and unmarried and you have the ability to do that, if you want to make it a career, that is the best way to go. I definitely say contact Kyle Toth. That's basically his method. He went straight into a woodworking school and did all of that, and has been woodworking full-time since then, and so he is a great resource for that. Anonymous, I want to make a window and I need to do 60 millimeter rebates, but I don't have a rebate plane that's big enough. What's the best and fastest way to do this by hand? If you're going to be doing more than like 2 to 3 feet, or if you're going to be doing more than like a meter's worth of putting in the rebates, make a rebate plane. They're really not that hard to do. I have made a couple of them. I made a shoulder plane that's really kind of a rebate plane, or a rabbet plane. I'm guessing you're from overseas, so a rebate plane. If you're in the US, it's a rabbet plane. They're not that hard to make, and usually you can make one that will hold a chisel, and so they're pretty easy. Paula Sellers has a great video on making one, and I definitely say go check that out. And I have a couple that I've made. If you want to look for mine, go to my channel and search for shoulder plane. It's basically the exact same thing. You can put a fence on it. I didn't have a fence on that one, but yeah. Making it is actually really easy. Probably 2 to 3 hours, a 2x4 and a chisel, and you can make your own. Yeah, it is that fun. It's one of the things I love about hand tool woodworking is if you need a tool, you can make it most of the time. Let's see. Which hand tool woodworker do you admire the most? I pick up some from Paul Sellers and techniques from your video. Well, thank you, AMD Jagger. I think I'm saying that right. I've seen you comment on a few of my videos, and thanks for that. Most all of my training has come from YouTube. I don't read books that often. I only subscribe to Popular Woodworking. Not because I don't want to subscribe to others. It's just I don't have the money to put into that. So that's where I'm at. YouTube is free, and I love that, and that's one of the reasons why I want to keep my videos free. Which one? I really can't say that. I mean, there are just so many, and I don't just get my ideas from hand tool people. I'm subscribed to like 500 different channels. I get notifications from over 200 channels, and I learn things from all over the place. I have people who have like 30 subscribers, and they put up one video every other month, and I'll get something from that. And people like Paul Sellers are fantastic in how in depth they go into things. I can't really think of any one that has been more influential to me than any other. So getting into the community is probably the best thing I would suggest. And if you're not really been into the woodworking community and commenting on videos and getting to know the people, asking questions, some of the forums online and Facebook groups, they're a great place to get to know people and find out information and see things. I think one of the things that I'm going on a little bit of a tangent here. One of the things that I love about woodworking is that there is no right or wrong way to do it. There are things that I find to be better than other ways, and there are things that you will find to be better than other ways. But you will never find out what works best for you until you try them, and you'll never actually try something new until you learn it or you play around with it. And so that's why I have to say I don't think of any one particular person. I follow everyone out there. I love getting new ideas from different people all over the place. So, sorry. Which hand tool woodworker do you admire the most? Oh, I guess I didn't read that. Which hand tool woodworker do you admire the most? Okay. I'm going to pretend that you're forcing me into a corner. Which hand tool woodworker do you admire the most? There are 4 that immediately come to mind. Paul Smellers, the English woodworker, Tom Fidgen, and Shannon Rogers. I have to say, I think Shannon Rogers with the hand tool school, his methodology is a little less, this is the right way to do it and learn this way. I like that he has that flexible mindset of, this is the way I do it. You may like it this way. You may like it that way, but find out which way you like it. I find that flexibility to resonate with the way I do things. Now, is that to say he's a better woodworker than others? No. I like his personality, and we fit well together. So, yeah. So if you haven't seen the hand tool school, go look it up. I actually just joined that. I've been saving up money for a while to actually join the hand tool school, and I have been blown away by it. Just absolutely mind shocked by the amount of information in there. I've heard Shannon talking about what the hand tool school has, and I thought, wow, this is cool. I really want to be a part of that. He has so undersold it. I'm talking hundreds of hours of content and information, and an amazing group of people to work with. So yeah, definitely go check out the hand tool school. It's a lot of fun. Sam French, thanks for answering my question. I'm thinking about teaching woodworking in high school, so I'll be doing a business teaching course. Also, is there any chance you'll make merchandise? Wow. Okay. Most places in the United States, woodworking classes do not exist in high school anymore. And I would love it if they did, but they don't. So that's not something I can really speak to. I was homeschooled, and so shop class for me was every single day out in the garage. That was one of the things I loved being with my dad, is we would always be tinkering on something in the garage, whether it be the car or working on bikes or woodworking. That was my background. So I actually had shop class, but I was homeschooled, so sorry. Yeah, I really don't know where to get into that. I mean, if you're going to be teaching in high school, you're going to have a teaching degree, and that's going to have absolutely nothing to do with woodworking. So you're probably going to be going down a training course that has nothing to do with woodworking, and then when you finally get to it, they'll cancel the program. So I really can't guide you that way. Is there any chance you will make merchandise? As a hand tool person, the amount of time that I put into something just means that it's generally not going to be worth selling, or the amount of money that it's worth, no one's going to pay. And so the actual things I make, I'm probably not going to be selling them. Also in that case, I really want what I do to be focused on the YouTube content. Yes, I am selling shirts. If you want to see that, you can see them on my website. I sell stickers, but that's kind of beside the point. So, I mean, if you're interested in shirts and stickers, go to WoodByWright at WoodByWright.com. Wow, I had a problem with that. But other merchandise things that I've made, sorry, I'm probably not going to be making things like that. eBay prices on Stanley planes are getting up there. What's your opinion on vintage planes and manufacturers other than Stanley? Several of my go-to hand planes are not Stanley. Basically, if you're going to be picking up a hand tool that's older than World War II, it's probably going to be pretty solid. Even some of the planes from the 50s, the Stanley Handyman versions, those are a lot cheaper. They're a little bit more crunky and they don't feel quite as good, but they're going to plane just as well, and you're going to be able to tune them up and do just the exact same thing. They're going to take a little bit more fiddling, but you know, it's kind of what you get what you pay for. I really do see a huge amount of influence in the woodworking world and in the DIY world, especially with all the automation and the CNC work that's coming into it. People are kind of like, it's becoming a computer project as opposed to a woodworking project, and people are kind of shying away from that, and that is kind of getting a knee-jerk reaction of shying away from the CNC and then the high-quality power tools, and that's mean you want to go traditional. And so there's a lot more people who are coming into hand tools, which mean prices are going up, and people want the quality things. So yeah, I don't normally like recommending brands from used tools. I like looking at the tool and seeing, is this something I can tweak? Is this something I can refurbish? And is this something I can use? That being said, you're generally going to get what you pay for. I have a Harbor Freight hand plane, a little number 4 that I have tuned up and used, and I can use it as a smoothing plane, but it doesn't last very long, and I have to be constantly tweaking it, and it's just kind of a pain to play with. But it does the work, and if I wanted to put in the time on it, I could use it. So I guess that kind of sidesteps the idea, but I generally don't buy things off of eBay. eBay for me is very expensive. Where I'm at, I can usually go to estate sales and find 1 or 2 hand planes, and usually they're like $12 to $25, and they're going to take 2 to 3 hours worth of restoration time, and I'm okay with that. I love restoring planes. I love putting that time into them. I get to learn them. I like that. For those of you who are following, if you want to leave a comment, I have a link in the description below. You can go there and leave a comment and vote others to the top you want to see. The comments on the side are actually going a little too fast for me, so I can't keep up with those with questions. So if you want to leave a question, you can go to the link in the description below. Anonymous, hey James, have you been influenced or heard of Tom Fidgen? Yes. Oh yeah. I've watched every single one of his YouTube videos. I love his work. I love that he is setting up the actual brick and mortar place. I think that is fantastic. I would love to go there and visit him sometime. His work is phenomenal, and I love what he does. Yeah, he's sweet. And I've read his book a couple times. I get it from the library. How did you start your channel? And what was your first equipment selection? When I first got into hand tools, I have 8 YouTube channels now. WoodByWright is by far the most productive, and so I just kind of have a hobby of videoing everything I do. I love putting up videos of what I do, and if you go back and look at my first few videos on YouTube, you will laugh at them. My first one is like, look at this hand plane I just bought. This is great, and it's a hunk of junk, and I restored it, and it still is a hunk of junk. So I was just basically doing that to catalog it for myself. So the first 50 or 60 videos are me walking around with my phone in my shop and pointing things out. And for me, I kind of got lucky because a lot of people were just like, okay, this is interesting. I want to see more from this. And I got like 50, 60 subscribers just with my phone walking around my shop, and I thought that was weird. And then Matt Cremona showed off my coffee table, which I built last Christmas. And my channel just exploded overnight. It went to like 300 some subscribers, and I was blown away and said, okay, well, I guess I can turn this into a channel. And so I went out and bought a cheap camera. It was like about $100, and it shot fairly well for the most part. And after doing that for 2 or 3 months, my wife and I kind of decided this is something we want to actually make solid and do better videos on it. So along about March or April, I started actually focusing on the video work, and I used our tax money to go out and buy a $1,600 camera and several other things that I've gotten from that. So yeah, I have spent like 10 times, well, probably more like 20 to 30 times whatever I've made on YouTube. So yeah, it might not be the easiest thing for me to answer. But when you're first getting started, your phone will do fine. Until you really want to do detailed and high quality, amazing stuff, your phone will work great. It is harder to get into, but that's the way it is. So let's see if there's any more questions on here. Not seeing any new questions in there. So if you want to leave a question, go to the link in the description below. and you can look at them there. I'm going to go through these and see if I can get anything. I'm not seeing any more new questions, so if you have anything, ask it. Otherwise, it's probably getting close to wrapping it up. I had someone asking if I do any design work, as in AutoCAD or SketchUp. For most all of my things, I don't actually design anything. It's all off the top of my head. Whenever possible, I do not use a tape measure or measuring device. I find that to just be kind of, I don't want to rely on that. I want to actually mark things off of actuality. And so I will say that I want the board to be this long. Great. So the next board needs to be 1/2 of that. Or the next board needs to be the exact same length. Well, I'll set that board up on it and mark off of that. And so I'm always trying to use the work itself to make the marks and measurements for the next cut and the next marking. So that does not lead itself to doing AutoCAD. I have been thinking very strong about doing designs, but I'll probably end up doing those after I've built it and then measure everything out and giving away the designs. Because even if I follow a design, I'm going to change something in it, and as soon as I start changing it, all the measurements go off, and then everything goes into my head, and I just build it from the top of my head. So I don't use designs very often. The link doesn't work. Well, let me send this one. Here, I'll just put this in the comments. There's the link to the question and answer page. I'd like to see you build a hand tool cabinet. I've had a lot of people actually asking about that, building a cabinet and tool storage. And because I'm planning on moving next year, I don't actually want to build anything to store the tools right now. And so that's why that shelf behind me and all of my storage looks like a trashy mess. Because I don't want to build anything until I know what my future shop is going to be. If I have a tall ceiling, I can do a lot of cool things. If the ceiling is short, like my current one, which is like 6.5 feet, then I'm going to have to do something different. But yeah. Also, I'm renting this house, so I don't want to anchor anything to the wall, so everything is sitting on the ground on the shelves. So eventually, yes, I'm going to be building a tool cabinet, but we'll see. I'm getting a lot of videos. Yeah, I have a lot of people here asking about YouTube videos, and I'm not the best person to ask for that. I'm I'm not really doing all that well in the YouTube world. So honestly, if you're having problems getting subscribers, I don't know. I really don't know. So sorry. Yeah, so I think that's about it I'm seeing for questions. Let me just check this one more time. There's a couple more. How is the dresser for your wife coming along? I actually just released a video on the dresser this morning, and the carcass is almost done. It's basically done. I had to wait for the top piece of the carcass so that I could get measurements off of what was already there. So I have a little bit more work to do on that, and then I'm going to be working on the drawers. And I've had a lot of people with their jaws kind of dropping when I explain what I'm doing with the drawers. They are going to be completely out of white oak. The sides are about 7/8 of an inch thick. They're going to be beastly, beefy, dovetailed through dovetails on all four corners. I'm not using a secondary wood. The bottoms of the drawers are actually going to be resawn solid white oak. So they're going to be beastly, and it's going to be a crazy amount of work. I have about, 24 or 30 board feet worth of white oak. I need to thickness plane and take a 1/4 inch off in order to get down to the right thickness. So, yeah, I got a lot of work there. But that'll be the next video, or maybe 2 videos from now. What size scale on your... What? The size scale on your t-shirts? As I'm from Ireland, I have absolutely no idea. I have size medium through 2XL right now, so I don't know what the Ireland size scale is. Sorry. They're Hanes tagless. Actually, I think I have one of them right here. Yeah, look at this. No, excuse me. They're the jerseys tags. Doesn't say 50-50 Colin polyester blend. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know there was a difference between international and American shirt sizes. So, sorry. But I think that's about it for questions. So I think we'll wrap it up here. So I hope you like this. I'll probably try and do a Q&A once every other month or so. I've had several people asking for it, but I don't know. If you like this, let me know. I'd love to hear about it, and we might do it again in the future. Sorry for the confusion at the beginning. I'm trying to get this figured out, get a system that works. So it's been a lot of fun. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, message me. I'd love to hear about that. And honestly, if you have questions, send me an email. I'd love to respond to them. I don't have any problem with doing that. So that's about it. So until next time, have a wonderful day. Or hang on here for a minute until I try to figure out how to stop broadcasting. I don't exactly know. There's got to be a stop broadcasting button.